And a good morning to you. Late, but here. That's the important thing. It's a Tuesday morning on the show this week since Thanksgiving comes on Thursday. I don't know why they keep having it on Thursdays. I guess it's just the way it falls. You know, it's amazing how that works.
That's when they play the football game.
And hopefully, if nothing happens, I'm going to you'll see some changes in the studio because I'm moving things around. I'm flipping us to the other side and rearranging some things. We're going to go into a cube where it don't look as funky as it is right now. I'm going to make some changes over the week. How about that? While it's Thanksgiving week. I'm almost caught up, not really good and caught up, but kind of caught up. So my question to you, my friend, did you watch oh gosh, now I got to remember what that is. That's not it. Did you watch any of Har Bowl last night?
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, very intense. You know, first quarter and a half, 2 quarters. Yeah. A lot of. I left probably about middle of third quarter. Went on up to bed, but it was good football. And the Chargers. I got to tell you, Lane, it may be another year, but I think they're going.
Oh, he's going to be.
I think they may be the AFC team. And of course, we all know Kansas City, but think of it this way: Kansas City's won like 6, 7, maybe 8 games now by less than 6 points or 7 points, something like that. So the thing that's different about San Diego and a lot of other teams is they utilize the fullback. Mm-hmm. And it is.
That's because that's his philosophy.
Yes, and it's very hard to defend that because defenses are not set up to defend, 2 backs. Mm-hmm. And you have to play football. You can't go up there and play patty cake and rip through and settle and they're coming in to blast your
but here's the deal,
and that it's coming.
Here's the deal:
the train's coming.
They are. They're almost mirror images of each other as far as their philosophy and how they do things.
It's their dad. Yeah, right. With their dad being a coach.
But what's amazing is you think of John as the defensive guy with the Ravens. Mm-hmm. You think of Jim as the offensive guy.
Yeah, you do.
But they're actually on top of the other in the league. Jim is up on top in defense. Mm-hmm. John's up on top in offense.
Yeah.
But those are 2 really, really solid coaches that understand what it's all about.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's exciting and it's good for the NFL.
Yes.
Quality and value. You have to stick with that. The flash in the pants, the fly by night stuff, all these things, everything related that's unrelated to football.
Yeah.
Now we're playing football, and we're focusing on the people in the field, and their development. How good can your team get? Are you giving your franchise time to develop? All of these things. And the draft. The thing that has been the most disappointing to me with NFL football is the hype that is put on the draft and the quarterbacks coming out of college. Mm-hmm. Is talented, and I don't care, all the way from Ryan Leaf to Jamarcus Russell. Mm-hmm. Incredible talents. But again, the Navy SEALs, who are the greatest organization team in the world, build everything first on checking the character box. I can trust you with my life, but can I trust you with my money and my wife?
Yeah.
And there is a reason that they're the most successful outfit in the world because the number one trait, all right, is desire to do something. But character and integrity go a long way in developing and fully implementing the athletic process to make it go to its full fruition.
Well, the biggest thing –
it just is what it is. You have to be dependable.
The biggest thing that has to be done, and I think you see it in the organizations. I'll give you a good analogy that I heard last week before the Steelers fell to the Browns in the snow on Thursday, okay?
Yeah.
And what I'm getting at is both the Harbaughs, Mike Tomlinson, whether I agree with everything he does or not, they have an identity. This is who we are. This is what we're going to be.
Right, sure.
And the best analogy, and I never heard this before, Cal Hurd said last week that Mike Tomlin is 12-0 on Monday Night Football. Because
never lost on Monday.
Because if he has –
oh, God, that's fantastic.
And here's why.
Great.
Here's why.
Great.
Because he doesn't change what he does. He is not very successful on Thursdays because his teams are physical. They don't change the way they practice. They don't change the way they – you know what I'm saying? And so if he has an extra day, he's pretty hard to handle on Monday.
Yeah.
Thursdays, it's almost like –
yeah, it's back-to-back. That's tough.
It's almost like, here's the deal. We're going to go out there and play the best we can, but we are who we are, and we're not going to change it because it's Thursday night. He doesn't like Thursday night games. We're not going to change it.
Yeah.
So going back to what you say, it takes teams that have identities, that have a commitment to a specific goal of this is how we're going to be. The only difference is this year with the Steelers – they finally have a quarterback since Big Ben that they can kind of entrust with the philosophy and the way that they want to game plan and do things, and they haven't had that. Right. So it's still important. You got to have all the right pieces. You don't have to have superstars, but you got to have all the right pieces.
And somebody doesn't turn the ball over. You're exactly right.
And so, you know, you are who you are, and as long as you stick to that and don't waver – and that's why some of the newer coaches that have come in, they're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad, because they haven't identified who they are, what they want to be, and say, okay, I'm going to stick with it. I'm not always happy with who Mike Tomlin is, but it's working. Nobody would have – here again, two things I'm wrong about. I am absolutely wrong on Mike Tomlin and doing what he does. Okay, he's shown that this year. I thought the Steelers would give him his first losing season, not be at the top of the heap, because I really didn't think – I had no confidence in the Justin Fields move, and I really wasn't sure what Russell had left in the tank. But they're not asking him to go out there and carry the team. They're asking him to go out there and manage, protect football, let us do what we do, and he's been able to do that.
Yeah, we really want you to score if you
can. It's not okay. We need to let Russ cook. That's that.
Yeah.
And I think Russ has bought into that as well.
I think he's enjoying it. You know, because he's all. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. That's a big Steelers fan, and he said, it's almost like Tomlin played this thing to perfection, where he went to Wilson at the beginning of the year and said, "Hey, look, we're going to hold you out for about 3 or 4 weeks.
We know you ain't got but so many weeks as you got.
This injury is we're going to see, kind of go along. We got a great defense. We're going to hold people. We're probably going to be 500 at best, end up being 4-2 with Fields, right? And, things were really good. You're kicking a lot of field goals, but you know what? You're scoring points and you're winning games. You need touchdowns later in the year, but, early on you're still figuring out your identity. And then I really feel like, just looking at things, and I agree with my buddy Matt that, it's almost like Tomlin said, hey, look, we're going to do this for 4, 5, 6 games. We're probably going to be 500 at best. Ended up being, like I said, 4-2. And then he said, okay, let's implement Russ in now and see what happens. Just kind of, get in here. We're 4-2. We're above 500. Justin is very good 15 and in with the football. He had a little bit of trouble handling snaps early on and things. I mean, look,
he doesn't protect the ball as well as Russ does.
And he's, his experience is not near what that is, but his athleticism, and I like the packages they have where they can bring him in and make him a major contributor to the team and moving the, advancing the football. Now, one observation I had last night and a thought on that. So I'm the guy that always replays, why are you drafting all these, quarterbacks, at number 1 and 2 when you could go out and get a proven guy and just pay the money? Because you're going to end up paying it anyway if they're really good in 3 or 4 years. So why not just, go see, go spend the farm on somebody like a Peyton Manning or I'm just giving an example, right? Somebody's established. So I'm watching Herbert last night and I'm watching Jackson, just reflecting on the weekend and all the teams that have played and all this. And I'm like, there's something to an athletic quarterback. but I think that something is not what everybody thinks it is, and what we as fans perceive. And I'm watching Jackson, and they have run plays set up for him, obviously, because he's such a great talent.
Right.
And he throws the football pretty good. He's gotten better every year. His elbow's always been a little low, but his accuracy has really picked up.
He's another one that I missed on too.
Yeah,
I didn't think he'd be an NFL
but
quarterback.
rightfully so, because of the size and being able to take the beating. I don't think he missed, but we'll go on that in a minute. So I'm looking at it, and last night Herbert, who is so big and strong and runs decently, and I thought, he's back there in the pocket. He's able to get away from pressure and not run the football up the field, but advance the football through throwing. His athleticism.
Eyes are still down the field.
The secret,
Josh Allen.
Yes, the
all those
secret,
big
though,
athletic
is not
quarterbacks.
to him be a running quarterback, but for him to be elusive out of the pocket with athleticism to continue to push the ball down the field with his eyes. I think that is where – and again, this is just reflection. I'm just a thought here. But I think that is what is being missed with all this. It's almost like, he's really fast and he's going to bring and it could be anybody really fast at playing quarterback. A Richards kid coming out, great athlete. He can do. That's not what that position's for. The benefit of being athletic is to be elusive out of the pocket and break contain and throw and advance the football down the field. It's not to run and pick up 10 or 12 yards because you're going to die.
Well,
you can't do that.
Patrick Mahomes, that's his.
And he gets out of bounds. And it looks
here's the
horrible.
deal. He doesn't want to run it, but he will.
Right.
Lamar doesn't want to run it, but he will, and he can. And defenses have to respect that. Now, when you take Herbert, you take Josh Allen, you take these big athletics, they're still very athletic quarterbacks, but they understand what the position is
Absolutely.
and how to prioritize what they need to do.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Every time.
That's where you
think that's it.
You can't rely on that athleticism all the way through.
No.
I mean, you just can't. The athleticism is what the key phrase you said. It allows you to elude, but continue with what the play was designed to do. Now, I'll give you another miss that I made.
Right.
Okay, and a couple comments, and we'll talk about it. The first miss I made was I gave my tickets away Sunday to the Panthers and the Chiefs because I didn't think it'd be much of a game.
You talking about this past Sunday? Oh, okay.
I didn't think it'd be much of a game. Okay, and I watched it, and two things come out of that. Okay. One thing, and I've heard different analysts say, they feel like, and you know this from coaching, and I know this from coaching, the one thing that really bothers you as a coach is when a team plays down to the level of their competition.
100%.
Okay? And a lot of people think that's what happened with Kansas City. Now, I think the Panthers played a really good game.
Yeah.
I thought they had a really good game planned.
Yeah, they did.
And the other thing of it is, I don't think that Bryce Young was worth where they picked him. Can he be a usable quarterback with the right combination and coaching? And I've always said that. Baker Mayfield, I think maturity has helped him a lot. But I think getting the right combination of coach, quarterback, and stuff, it makes a world of difference. Right. So Bryce Young may be okay and may be serviceable. I don't think he gets that second huge quarterback contract. But, he can at least – the Panthers have done better than I thought they would. Let's just put it that way.
Well, if you remember this summer we're talking, and, I talked to someone that was in Panthers training camp, and, they said Canales was really, encouraged by Young's development because there was a lot of things from a mechanical standpoint that he was still needing to upgrade from college to the NFL. And he said it wasn't because he wasn't taught. It's due to the speed of the game.
Yes.
And the all the intricacies that go with that and the little minute things that are a big deal and a big difference. And, people it's an amazing it's politics, your football team, your church. There's so much emotion, that goes into single acts. and then, blaming, like when things aren't good in a church, who's the first person that gets blamed?
Well, the leader, the preacher.
Right.
That's the first
and,
place you go.
but it's like that in every organization.
Sure
it's
it is.
like that in every facet of any kind of anything that is worth mentioning up.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it up and mention it. I just, when I look back and say, okay, well, Young's been benched. Listen, he's in year 2. He's still in the growth and development stage. And I watch and listen to all these things about, I don't ever want to hear anything about Bryce Young again. And, so-and-so's, the backup quarterback, so-and-so is the best, and that's who we need to go with. And, okay, first of all, it was week 3, okay? Second of all, you're looking at a young man that is still in his early developmental stage of a massive process that you only tune into once a week for a couple of hours and then get pissed because it's not working out, then you leave. To actually be on the ground and watch growth and development happen. Let's just take from 10 years old until 17. When I watched it in my own house, okay, from diligence and hard work and, watching that growth and development take place as time went on, just trying to close the gap to being, towards excellence every day. I watched a young man in my house go from a kid that's just, a normal kid that, liked being with his friends and not really, interested a whole lot in, other than just playing that season, go into mode over, a 2 and 3 and 4 year period into an animal. I'm talking about not missing a day in the gym, training. I'm talking about, trying to, watching film, understanding. And what you have to see is Bryce Young's in that same part. I can tell you that coaching Quinn, my son, for the 5 years I did, from middle school in 8th grade to, freshman in high school, sophomore, junior, senior year. His last 3 years, I was a defensive coordinator to high school, coached the JV team the first year, just helping out whatever they needed me to do. Robbie decided to retire, so, Will's like, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, sure, I'll, whatever. But what I watched is the growth of him and Corbin and DJ and, Jack and all these kids. And it's the same developmental phase, Laney, that you take from college to pro. Going from youth league to middle school to a very competitive high school team and league and playoff system. Well, you have to be a little bit more patient as fans, but our leadership has got to be more vocal and understanding to the fan base. If you're going to ask us to spend all this money and invest our time in our team, you better doggone well tell us what the vision is and where we are. That's the problem I've got. If they start doing that and let Canales get in front of the mic and talk about where things are and the development, then the whole community or whole area starts becoming inclusive into the Panthers instead of just pulling for them.
Sure.
Now we're behind them.
Yeah.
It's better for everybody.
I agree.
Communicate, okay? Take time, invest in the people that you're asking to invest in your franchise.
I agree.
That's it. That's
how
the secret sauce.
That's all anybody
That's
wants.
it.
Let me give you some comments that came in. Stephen, good morning. Richie Milton said that he questions Young's durability. I think that is a question, but there again, it depends on how you utilize him and making sure that you do what is inside of his capability.
Who said that?
Milton.
Oh, that's a good. Milton's right.
And
that was my point about being elusive out of the pocket and looking downfield instead of running the football. Milton's right. Bryce is. Let me tell you something. Athletically, he's top tier.
And
brain-wise, he's top tier.
Yeah,
he just has to learn how to function in a larger.
Well, he's got to get the game to slow down.
Right, and it's because people
are
are so big around him.
Yeah.
Milton has a great point.
Yeah.
But what we cannot undervalue is the intangibles that he brings. He has Navy SEAL qualities. That is very rare in this world. That's why it has to be embraced and developed and given time. Milton is right. He is 100% right. The durability is a concern, but you have to build around that as well. If he's behind the Chiefs' offensive line, we're not having this discussion at all.
Right.
So let's look at where the real problem is. All right, I say the real.
Wait, there's not a singular problem. That's the problem. The problem is that when you've got so many pieces that are missing, it's hard to get it single. But I do like the way Chuba Hubbard's come around. That kid that they drafted last year at running back. I mean, he got a play.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be okay.
I liked her.
They're putting some pieces. They're putting some pieces.
And when we went and watched them early in the year, it was apparent that the offensive line was dysfunctional.
It still is,
and that the play calling, you know, they were still trying to figure things out. It is the speed of the game, and you play a different opponent, which everybody does every week. But you have to learn your team, and then the consistency, and then take advantage.
I think Canales is committed to doing that.
100%.
He's going to do what needs to be done.
I have no problem with that guy. I like older coaches, but I have no problem with him.
Yeah.
And I think he cares about the players.
He's a player's coach.
Level.
Yeah.
I'm so glad Caleb Farley, our local boy,
down there. He stopped that run back on the. I think it was on the kickoff for the punt. He was the one. Yeah.
I'm so glad he ended up there because and Vrabel was really good with him.
Yeah.
He when they were at Tennessee, and Caleb went through so much.
Caleb's another one
there,
like
man.
Baker Mayfield. There was some maturity things that needed to happen to him to get his head in the game for where he's at. Not counting the personal stuff that happened to him that had nothing to do with football.
Which is unimaginable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Unimaginable.
Yeah.
And yet he's there, and he's doing such a I'm so proud of him.
He's doing much better.
Yeah, man.
Richie said in response to Kansas City playing down to competition, there might be some partial truth to that. I also think KC is the two-time defending champs. They're getting everyone's best shot, and those teams are pulling out all the stops and possibly showing things KC has not seen on film yet. The other thing to me is you talk about it all the time. Kansas City is not as worried about winning that game against the Panthers until winning that game in January and February. You know?
They're not showing everything,
No.
and Andy Reid is just fine-tuning the machine. And there's some good points today made on not only the Panther stuff but also Kansas City observations. The reflective thoughts coming in are really good. This is good.
Milton said the Chargers are a team with no city. They need to go back to San Diego, and that's about the truth. Tomlin also brought in Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Smith's a great OC. He didn't do well as a head coach in Atlanta. Wonder if he'll get another shot. You wonder,
he's great,
are some of these coordinators going to be like Spagnuolo? And instead of never getting a Super Bowl as a head coach, I'll take 3 or 4 as an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator.
Not everybody is meant. Not every coordinator is meant to be a head coach. It's it's almost like it's a failure and you can't. No. You are who you are.
That's right.
It's when you try to be what you're not.
Yeah.
Is when you come back to reality.
And I like
Arthur
Smith.
Settled. Oh, he's great.
Richie said, is Fields in Pittsburgh next year? An article citing Pat McAfee's show is saying that Pittsburgh will want to keep both Wilson and Fields, but will want Fields to come back at a backup price.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'm not convinced that Fields is really a starting quarterback. And there was another one that I talked about over the weekend. I cannot remember who it was that I'm not sure they're a starting quarterback, but I'm not sure that they can accept the fact that they're not a starting quarterback. I can't think. Maybe it'll come back to me. I'm old. I don't remember as well as you two. Rich said singular problem with the Panthers. It points to the owner. Here's the thing for this year. He stayed the frick out of the way, and you've seen some improvement in what they've done. You haven't seen the meddling. Now, the offseason will be a different animal, and we'll see what happens. Milton said if they try to run him like they did Cam and CMC, he will be beat down much faster. I don't think he will. I think Ben Roethlisberger would have lasted longer had he not put his body through what he did.
But and I don't disagree with that, but I don't think the Steelers would have been as successful had he not. So there is a yin and yang.
Yeah.
And I can't say this enough how much I enjoy watching the NFL with these younger players, a great mix of older veterans. The league it's really focused on playing football. We've put in all the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Behind us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're moving forward, and it's so much more enjoyable when I can watch them take each other on, be serious about what they're doing, be focused about what they're doing, and having a good time instead of worrying about things that all of us are trying to get away from when we watch them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they're not there and things aren't relevant,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a reason that you have always said, I want to come watch you play.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to say whatever you want to, but I want to watch you play. That's why I'm there.
That's right.
And that escape for all of us
Mm-hmm.
that are fans and watching
Yep.
is what's most important.
Richie says both Harbaughs are amazing coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they know what's going on, how to build their teams, because they bring in really good coordinators.
Well,
He said Jim with the Chargers, he brought in Jesse Mentor with him from Michigan, whose name's being mentioned as for possible college coaching vacancies, or maybe an NFL coach in a few years.
He's good.
But
well, Greg, the offensive coordinator that was with him before,
isn't it Roman? Greg Roman.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got baggage, but he's okay.
Hey, man. Yeah. Hey, look. You got to. I get it, but the players, watch how the players interact with those two head coaches. Yeah. That tells you the story.
Sure does.
When you watch somebody hit a home run, like in high school ball or whatever, or watch how their teammates react to them. That'll tell you the favor they have.
Yeah.
And the true nature if people are joyful for them.
Yep.
When they do something good, or if they're just reacting to the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's a difference. I think as a coach, Laney, that's as much as I want to, I say win, as much as I want, the kids to be successful every time out and know that failures along the way, I want them to understand and know how important they are and how special they are.
That's
and
right.
that the situation, we're never going to let the situation be bigger than us.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Let me take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll switch to college football, talk a little bit about that, and before we get out of here today.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. We're back. Here we go. Now, before I make your head explode, because I know we will not.
Oh, it's coming.
We will
it's
not.
Coming.
It's
coming.
We will not agree on this. Okay, but I'm just gonna give you where I like for things to be seen. Now, there's only one real week, plus I guess conference championships, and everything's over. But there's some complaints out there, and you'll like this. I know you will. There are complaints out there because it's an all SEC Big Ten invitational. Andrew's foster dad, Dabo, that's what he called it. And, here's the deal. Let me take Dabo to the woodshed, because you couldn't win a game against a team that had a winning record. So you're not even in the conversation. I don't care what you do. You're not in the conversation. You can't play with any of those teams that's above you.
What if they beat South Carolina?
They're not going to, but if they do, no.
And I'm just I'm not disagreeing. What I'm saying is, what if they beat them and finish with 2 losses?
I'm going to give you this right here. And then, I know we're not done, but I like to look at the power rankings, because it takes the eyeballs and it takes the opinions out of it. It's done statistically. Mm-hmm. I can't argue with a whole lot that's in there, even a 3-loss Ole Miss team. Okay?
I don't argue with that.
You got Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oregon. Oregon is ranked 7th in the power rankings.
So Bama's ranked what?
Bama is ranked 4th.
With 3 losses?
With FPI, Football Power.
God.
Oregon, Tennessee,
unbelievable.
Penn State, Miami comes in at 10, Indiana comes in at 11, SMU comes in at 12. That's 2 ACC teams. Now, when I look down below that,
I don't like it.
I don't see anybody else that I would put in there over who they've got in those 12.
Okay, well, the problem I have is this.
Okay.
All right, and it is scenario
I was counting on you
based.
having a problem.
No, I do.
Okay.
It's awfully interesting to me that in looking upon this, and I can actually see the board today, okay, that the statistics that are in place favor 3-loss teams.
But it's based on who they've played.
Yes.
To get those 3 losses.
Right, but that is not the narrative that we've been preaching.
I understand. And that goes back to here.
Let me tell you something. I have no problem. But when someone says, well, it's the Big Ten, SEC, whatever, a team cannot help where they play and who they play, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a true believer that iron sharpens iron, right? Truth against truth. Here we go, right? Here it is. I think Ole Miss is a top 10 team with 3 losses. I think Bama is. I obviously think Georgia's, right there. This is the problem I got. Texas A&M can beat Texas. And if they do, now Texas A&M is back in. Well, and then Georgia goes to the SEC champion or to the SEC championship game. However, if Texas beats Texas, well, Georgia's probably going to go anyway. now that the way things have played out.
But let me to back up your point, okay? Boise State 10-1 in the AP poll, they're up there.
Yeah.
But they're 27th.
Yeah, sure.
Because they haven't played the level of competition.
Well,
I'll give you another one. Iowa State, they're 26 at 9-2. Tulane is 17 at 9-2.
You got to get back to divisions. If you're going to have major conferences, you got to have 2 or 3 divisions, and you got to let things settle. Mm-hmm. This is getting out of
where this is. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with where this is right now. There is not enough of like competition to make comparisons on who's the best.
There's not.
When you got conferences that's got 18 teams in them, and Bill Bender and I talked about this before, until they get into this Super League that they're talking about, to where you have 8-team divisions, just for example, let's just say you had 64 teams, okay, 8 teams per division, and then you're going to play 7 conference or division games. Gives you plenty of time to play other stuff.
You put them in a lottery with the top 64 and just move it around.
But then those move and change, and you take the winners of those 8, and that becomes who's going to play for it. But, it's like we were talking here, and I'm not convinced that those 12 teams that will go to the playoffs, I'm not convinced that out of those 12 teams that anybody in that pack can win that national championship. I'm not convinced that. Though those are top tier talent, I don't see see Miami or SMU playing with an Ohio State or a Texas for the simple reason Miami don't have the defense to stop a team like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think they would be a little bit. I think they may surprise us there, but I watch Indiana play, and what a great, magnificent story.
Oh yeah,
that has been. But in the grand scheme of things, we're looking at TCU 2.0 again. Okay, from 2 to 3 years ago. I mean, and that's not to downplay and say people don't deserve this, they earn this, but it's the same old song and dance as Florida State last year, and then leaving Georgia out. Mm-hmm. Revisiting the past, yes, but making a point going forward for the future. Mm-hmm. There has to be an eye test and common sense applied to statistical, data, to the statistics.
Right.
Because, I've had a kid in baseball that with nobody on base and no pressure and nothing there hit over 300, but when there's runners in scoring position, he hit less than 100. He's like .72.
Right.
So, his overall average was like, 311, but his performance measure was much, much lower. And that's the issue, that is there. And I don't know, man. This SEC thing and Big Ten thing and all this stuff is just – it's just way Lanny, it's skewing the success of other teams and programs relative to where the SEC, Big Ten, and a couple of the ACC teams are. There's no way that you can look at a BYU and say, okay, they're top 12. Mm-hmm. Just like you couldn't do it in the top 4.
No.
I just don't trust the process based on the way in the SEC, it's their fault. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten, it's their fault. They give out all these teams in here.
But they want to control that.
I get that.
Yeah.
But when you base it on monetary value first, okay, instead of focusing on the value and quality and the outcome, the achievable outcome, then everything else flows. That more people get in behind it, and then more money comes. You have to do it in reverse.
Yep.
And in today's world, over the last 8, 10, 12 years, we've seen first doesn't equal right. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be a major – I love watching college football. I've had a great time. I think the transfer portal can be fixed, but also I think it's opened up a lot of questions. that are now starting to be answered about college football.
Like anything that's new, it gets overused, and then everybody figures out, wait a minute, this isn't exactly how we got to
And
use
it's not that big a deal.
and they start to scale back a little
Yeah.
bit. All right, Heather Dinich put this up at 7 o'clock this morning. Of course, the rankings and the new matchups and stuff will come out tonight on ESPN. But I can't argue with any of these. Here is her first round buys, her top 4: Oregon, Texas, Miami, and Boise State.
Oregon is number 1.
But here's the deal.
They are.
Here's the deal, and we had this conversation Saturday. The reason Boise State's there is because the formula for today, and they got to fix this, the Power 4 conferences, the conference champion gets first-round bye. You know, we argued about this a little bit on Saturday. Well, that's not the way it is. There's other requirements. There's not. You could go 6-5 if you're conference champ in the Power 4. You're going to get a first-round bye. So they're going to fix that. Joel Klatt says what's going to come up next, he thinks, is they'll move it to 14 with 2 first-round byes like the NFL, and then it'll kind of work itself out. And those 2 first-round byes will be the SEC and the Big Ten because they own it. Now, let me give you the other ones they got in here, matchup. These will be great ones. They've got first-round matchups. Tennessee at Georgia, winner plays Oregon. Arizona State at Ohio State plays Boise.
I mean,
Indiana at Penn State plays Miami, and SMU at Notre Dame plays Texas. Now, she's got the last 2 in as Indiana and Arizona State.
Right now, yeah.
The first 4 out got is Alabama, Texas A&M, BYU, and Clemson. Don't argue with Clemson or BYU because Clemson hasn't beat anybody.
I just don't know how when you – and, again, you have to apply logic to this. All right, when you take Texas A&M and Alabama, scroll back up.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would even go out there with Penn State, Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
My point, all this is, the system is still broken.
It is.
It's horribly broken. And it's like I said before, if you can't trust them to put the top 4 in, throw everybody's feelings out the door.
But here's the problem.
Georgia last year was number friggin' 1 all year, or almost all year. They lose an SEC championship. Okay? And all of a sudden, they're not a top 4 team. Really?
But here's the deal.
Really?
It is still better than just 4. It's not perfect, but it's better than 4.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, obviously. I would never, But is it really? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's just appeasement.
Well, I know this.
And not being able to hear the word no.
I know this. I don't know how. The first thing is when they set it up and they said the 4 conference champions get in out of the 12, you like it or you don't like it. That's the rule.
Put the conference champion at who was that, Boise or whoever
Boise.
BYU or Boise, whoever it is. Put them, rank them.
Yeah.
Get them in there and then rank them.
Yeah.
Come up with a system and rank them. But how do you give them a bye?
Well, now first of all, and I'll say this:
how?
I don't want buys. I don't like buys. I don't like open weeks.
Gosh.
I don't like any of that. Don't like it in the NFL. I don't like
everybody's getting a bye though because they're playing 3 weeks later than when their last game of the season.
Correct.
So
correct.
To me, that's kind of a point well taken. But if it's during the season, they're jumping playing the next week. I get it. They're not doing that. They're taking 3 weeks off. I just don't. I just don't trust any of this. I mean, when I saw TCU go in, the system was incredibly broken. They earned it. They just no. They were number 2. They played in their conference championship and got beat, and you still gave them a number 3.
See, I don't want to.
I don't want to do that.
I don't. I have a problem with the earned thing because it comes back to being subjective and not objective, and I want it to be based on your body of work, not last week, not what you did week 1. I want to see your body of work.
Well, that's the Florida State argument. The problem is their best player got hurt,
right,
and then their team was not very good after that.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
That's why you got to have Mac Brown,
I don't,
Nick Saban,
but I don't,
and bring back Bear Bryant from the dead.
I don't
and
like that.
Let them do the 3-man committee and just rank everybody and be done with it.
I mean,
have people in charge.
If you did that, then there was no reason for Carolina to play Kansas City yesterday because on Sunday because the eye test tells you that's not going to be a game.
Oh, I'm talking about.
What I'm saying is when you go back to Florida State, I know that they lost their quarterback. Mm-hmm. I still want them to have an opportunity because of their body of work. I don't like that in basketball. When the NCAA does that, well, we're not going to put you in because this guard got injured. Why did you play the whole season? Well, just come up with a tournament at the end of the year and say, okay, we're going to pick 12 based on who you got to play.
But that
we're
was
going to
the
pick 12.
criteria that they laid out before us that they were going to put the top 4 teams in.
I know, but
and they still. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it was not a body of work formula. It was we're going to put the best 4 teams in. The problem I have is there's so much politically and so much in
that's why I go back to the FPI.
Well, this team deserves it. And they earn, they've played so hard. And
no,
I don't want to hear that crap. Okay, I don't want to hear that. Put the top 4 teams in. It's not hard to figure out. It's not about what you deserve or what it's the top 4 teams, and you deserve and earn that through playing your schedule and then your best players being healthy. It's a sport. It happens.
The other thing the other ranking that they have here that I like is called your resume. Okay, your resume, and what your resume is who you played, and that's a different ranking than FPI. Mm-hmm. If you look at those, the top 12 is Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, Miami, Indiana, Tennessee, SMU, Notre Dame, Alabama, Boise State. That's the top 12.
Where's Ole Miss? How are they?
Ole Miss is down at 19 on this one.
All right, all kidding aside, Oregon, if they're in the SEC, what's their record right now?
They probably lost 2.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
But you can't do that.
But no, I agree. But what we're being asked to do is justify all these other spots and why they're ranked where they are.
Yeah.
This is my whole point. Get in a conference.
Yeah.
Survive your season, like you said with Florida State, and then play your games. That way nobody can say anything. Everything else is left up to being subjective.
Yeah.
And you cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. It's not the thing that nobody's going to be happy. It's you have a set of rules. Follow the rules.
Yeah.
Just follow them.
Yeah.
Instead of going, well, we don't want to make this person feel
bad. But if the rules would not take into consideration. I go back to your Florida State example. The rules would not take into consideration a key player getting hurt.
If that is the criteria set, I am okay with it. If we say this conference champion is and then you seed them accordingly to you can use all your statistics after that. But champions are champions. All right, they pay the price. That's the ultimate, saying or whatever, right? And they survived. Okay, quarterback tears his ACL in practice next week. Guess what? The body of work, to your point, has now placed him there. Nobody can argue with that. Well, it's like the old High School Athletic Association schedule that came out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sitting there with Butch and Tom gets that booklet in, and I'm running down there. Butch is already in there with him, and we're like, wow, okay, if we're number 1 or number 2, who do we play in the playoffs? It's already predetermined. Well, if we win this game, that means we're going to get this many home games. Mm-hmm. Everything was predetermined. There was no question about what was coming up. There was no, we're going to ask a statistical company from California to rank these so we don't have to get out in front of it and do it ourselves here because we want somebody else to be accountable and us to just implement their findings instead of doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I have no problem with things changing.
Yeah.
But and adapting as time goes on. But consistency and integrity of the process is what's most important, and being able to communicate it effectively. That is not being done on any level of any kind because we're hiding behind science and metrics. How has science worked out for everybody the last, I don't know, let's say 4.5, 5 years? Mm-hmm. How's that worked out? Okay? We're so smart, and then we find out, well, maybe that's not exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
Why do we not rely, on truths and setting criteria instead of worrying about a computer?
I'm good with that.
I don't understand
I'm good
that.
with that as long as we don't let opinions and eyeballs get in it.
It's like saying this makes you smarter.
Yeah.
No, this just provides you with information that you need to filter. Your ability to apply the information is what allows you to be intelligent or smart or to get ahead. Not that you've got this and can read and regurgitate stuff and just repeat it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's the same thing with the college football process. And it's not as simple as we're making it out to be, because the number one driver in this is TV contracts. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, maybe it's Steven or somebody was saying that, people inside Texas are saying that Arch Manning's going to be the guy the rest of the year. I think that's great, but, that is not what makes Texas go. Him or you is either one. It is the complete body of work that Sarkisian has built there.
That's right.
Their defense is really good. Their special teams are good. Their receivers are good. Their DBs are good. Their tackles are excellent. Mm-hmm. Their defensive rush ends and outside linebackers are very good. Arch Manning is wonderful, but he is not Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay? And neither is Quinn. None of us are.
Yep.
All right? He's an exciting player, but there's a reason Ewers has been the guy.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. And Arch is, he is amazing. I love following him. I love the entire family. They're just models,
Yeah.
But the point of this is there is a process in place. And you know why Arch isn't losing his mind and posting all this stuff? Well, nobody.
His time will come.
You know why? Because he knows that it's a process, and that he's got people surrounding him that he's grown up understanding that.
Yeah. No.
Development is
he understands
key,
who he is,
and he has to do it in his
yeah.
time.
Yeah, no,
and his time might be now, and that's okay.
Well,
but I just want the thing to be fixed. I want to stop with all the money thing going on, and that being the driver of everything decision that kids make. Because Lanny, when the climb is difficult, all right, and you get to the top, life is a little easier. But when you make easy choices,
I know.
all of a sudden. And then the rubber meets the road. Then that climb up that hill starts coming back this way, and then you got to come up, and then life gets really, really hard.
Yeah.
When you don't, when you take the easy road, okay?
Well,
don't like it.
The biggest thing,
thing
with anything that's out there, just like we're going through with the NIL and the transfer portal, all that kind of stuff, it is new, and everybody thought they had the best way to utilize it. And it will work itself out over time, because that's the way anything does. The only thing that fixes most things is you look at where it failed and you make adjustments so it doesn't fail again.
Well, I believe the whole thing was done for unionization of college sports. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I do have opinions on that personally, but what I'm saying is things are what they are. If that's what they choose to do, that's their business. It doesn't affect my life at all. It's just an observation. But I really feel like that's what this whole thing basically was being driven on. And then how do we collect revenues from people that donate into the program,
right?
Because they're excited about one player, and then all of a sudden everybody else wins, or money's funneled to the top, and then people underneath are whatever. I don't care, anybody's business. But I still feel like that's what was going on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, because it is what it is. There's nothing wrong with unions. There's nothing wrong with not having them, whatever.
Next time we get together, because I want to talk about that, because I don't necessarily want to call it a union. I want to call it a structure where it makes people responsible. Right now, we don't have anybody that's being responsible, because that's why they could just pick up and take their ball and go home, go somewhere else.
How about our guy down in South Carolina, the coach down there, and that boy came up to him, that player came up to
him and
said, I'm just going to take rest. He just wanted him booting.
But,
he said, well, you're not coming back. You've
got to be able to stand up and do that.
And he did that when the team was not performing very well, or weren't winning games.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, guess what? Sometimes you got to prune the vine, baby.
Well, he
right?
did. He
I don't
made
care if it's a big piece of
he
fruit
made
or not.
the decision.
It makes all the fruit big. Hey.
He made the decision that was in the best interest of the team. That's what he did.
Absolutely, and that's what he's supposed to be doing. instead of appeasement.
I got to get out of here. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day,
We'll be
friends.
back next week sometime. We'll see you then.